Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. In this tutorial, we're going to learn about Python function. Functions are generally the set of instructions that you provided to Python to do some task. If you have followed my series on basics of Python, then you know in the second tutorial we have discussed about function, or at least I gave you the intuition, why do you need function in your code. Let me give you that intuition again to you. Let's say you have a task X, and in the piece of the code, in the body of the code, you need to do this task very often, let's say 3 times. Okay, and this task takes, let's say, 100 lines. One way to do that, you can write this task whenever it is needed, here, here, here. So basically you need to write 100 lines, 100 lines, and 100 lines. So first thing, it is very time taking and it's lengthy, and readability is not that good. Other way, you can define a function in a separate piece block in the code, and in the body part you can call this function 3 times. So now you need to write this code 100 write 100 line at the beginning of the code, then you just need to call this function 1 time each in three instances. So that actually reduce lot of your space in your code. Not to mention the readability of the code improve a lot. So this concept of function is not new to you. We have been using a lot of built-in function in last several videos, such as print or input. In the last tutorial, we have seen a built-in function called range, and this built-in function, uh, Python has already defined it in the background. You need to call them with their names, and you can pass the value which they takes within the parenthesis, and those built-in function will do their jobs. The function which we're going to talk about today is called user-defined function, and as the name suggests, user need to define it within the Python code, and whenever they need it in the later point of time, they can call it. And of course, the user defined function, the user has defined need to define it within the code, so it won't be available for all the users across the globe. There's a way you can do that, but the topic is a bit advanced. We're going to talk about in the next subsequent lecture, but let's stick to the example of user defined function where you write it by yourself and use it by yourself only. So this is the typical syntax for the function where you say def stands for definition, then the function name. And likewise variable name, there are certain rules that you need to follow for the function name as well, which we're going to see in the next slide. Then within the parenthesis, you pass the argument that you wish to use it within the body of the function, followed by a column. And of course, this argument is optional. So you can use def function name, and within the parenthesis, you just don't keep anything, just keep it blank. Still, it would be a valid function. Then within the body part, you pass the thing which you wish to do, and in the end you need to return something. So this one is optional as well. So the function can also be a valid function which don't return anything, and of course you need to keep the indentation in mind. So all the rules that have been applied for the variable name also applied for function name as well. So a function name only starts with a letter, number, or a underscore, or you can use any of this combination. A function name cannot start with a number. You need to remember this one. And space are not allowed. So in case if you want to use a space, don't use that one. Use underscore instead. And reserve keywords such as for, while, if, you can't use it. And don't forget that Python is case sensitive. So in case if you have defined a function with a lowercase name and you call it in the later part with the uppercase name, Python will throw an error saying that that function is not yet defined. So that's enough theory. Let's go to the Python shell, and we'll see some of the example of functions. Let's first see how you can get help in case you want to know about a particular built-in function. For that, you can type help and open and close parenthesis. When you save it and run it, you will land on this page where you can see there is a help thing here and there is a cursor blinking next to it. And here you can type your function, this built-in function that you wish to know about. For example, I want to know about print and read function. I can do that, and here when I say print enter, here you can find the information about print and the argument it takes. Similarly, I can know about another built-in function, let's say sum, and here also you can find the information about that built-in function. So in that way, you can find help for any built-in function present in Python. Once you are done with this help functionality, press Ctrl C. In that way, you will get out of this help page. Okay, let me comment this one out and go. Let's go ahead and write our very own function, which is for that we need to write def, and let me put my function name my fun, and within the parenthesis, let's say this one is a very simple function and it doesn't do anything except printing a thing. And what it will print? It will print uh, print um, this is my first function. Okay. Oops. Now when I save it and run it, you can see Python execute it without any error, but it's not showing anything because we have defined this function, but we haven't called that function yet. So for that, we can call the function here, and even though it doesn't take any argument, still we need to follow the syntax and put this open and close parenthesis. In that way, Python knows that this is a function, not a variable. And when I save it and run it, you can see right now this function is get executed, and this is my first function is printed. Basically, what it does, this function does, is now printed here. So this is called defining a function. This is called the calling of a function. Let me comment this one out, and here we can say, let's see some of the example of name and general mistakes that you can avoid it by doing a mistake. Let's do all the mistake intentionally in the name. So here I can say Dave, and here in say my fun, and within open and close parenthesis, and here I can say print uh, dummy. And now if I will just go ahead and run it, you can see there is a syntax error because I'm keeping a space. So this is not allowed in Python function name. So if you wish to do that, use underscore instead. Okay. If you using any other special character apart from underscore, let's say asterisk. If I will run it, you will see there is a syntax error. So please use underscore only, not any other special character. If I start a function name with a number, it will throw me an error. So don't do that. And last but not least, reserve keywords such as if, for, or while, or any even def is not allowed because it's a reserve for Python. Here, if I will say def and I run it, you can see there's an error. So you need to keep all these things in mind when you writing or when you define a function name. Okay, let me comment this one out. Now this above function, this my fun is only printing the thing, a certain thing, which in this case is this is my first function. Let's go ahead and do something interesting. Let's say my function add, and here I can pass num1 and num2. And as you can suspect that what I will do here, I will say add, uh, sorry, item. Let me write item because I add we have already defined the name. So just to avoid confusion, I'm saying item equal to num1 plus num2. Now, if I will just go ahead and say add Here you can see there is a error because this particular built user-defined function takes two arguments or two inputs which we have used it in the body of the function, but while we are calling the function, we are not providing that argument. So that's why Python is throwing me an error. To avoid that thing, pass the argument. So here I'm saying 2 and 3. So the expected output should be 5, but here you won't see anything because this particular function just did the addition and store it in item, but this function is not returning anything. It's doing addition but not returning that thing. So here what I can say, let me copy this one and put it here, and here I can say return item, and if I now run it, you can see it's not showing anything because I haven't printed this thing out. Print. So what it does now, this function just returning a item like this thing here. Now it's returning 5, but we are not printing. So here I'm saying print. Now you can see 5. Okay. Let me copy this one and comment. And here we can say paste. Now let's say this function I don't want to provide all the time the number 2. So I want to, there is a speciality of number 7. So I want to keep this num2 as 7. So in case the user won't provide num2, by default, this function will take 7 as uh, a value of for num2 and num1 whatever the user will provide. So now if I will just run it, it will show me 5, which is same as previous. But if I will just not provide the second argument and run it, now it's 9 because by default value of num is 7. So here we have defined the default value of that argument, which is 7. And let's say if we haven't provided that number yet, num2 yet, and if we just go ahead and run it with the one argument, if that function, here you can see there is a missing argument 1. So we need to so if we wish to pass one argument and there is a multiple argument present within the function which you want to make it default, so you can do that using this assignment operator. So this assignment operator means that num2 is by default value is 7. So if you provide something, the num2 will take that one, or else it will just take the 7. Hopefully with this tutorial you got an intuition what function is, how you can write a function, call a function in the code. And with this tutorial we are not going deeper into the function. Basically we are scratching the surface of the function and what you can do with it. In the next videos, when we move out of the basics of Python, you want to see how often we use function in our code. If you have any question till now, please feel free to drop them in the comment section, or else thanks for watching. Please do like and share this video. Please don't forget to subscribe this channel if you haven't done it yet. Until next time, cheers.